くなれば聞かざるを得んだろうぜ。
We're gonna do this together. Pick up your camera. Point. Focus. Click. That's how you tell your story.
Andrew, good morning.
I like your backdrop.
Oh,
looks great.
Thank you very much, man.
I should have that. I should have that behind me.
Well, thanks for joining me to talk about your new film, Minamata. Man, what a powerful film! You know, this ranks right up there with Aaron Brockovich and with just so many other socially conscious movies. I mean, just want to say congratulations, first of all. And you know, I'm Generation X, and I just remember in the back of my mind of the story in the 70s. You know, I'm not great detail, but I remember this because it was just so shocking. You know, when were you first aware of this environmental disaster?
So I was aware without understanding at a pretty young age. So, you know, I was born in the late 70s, and I came of age kind of always knowing that I wanted to be an artist somehow. And so I remember seeing the actual images, you know, probably when I was 10 years old, something like that. And like understanding there was something that I wasn't used to. I was seeing something that was horrifying to me, but somehow also there was like this spirit in it, this love, this hope, this humanity that was in these Smith images. And I just remembered it and it stayed with me. And then when I was in college, I then, you know, started to know more about Smith and then know more about this story in particular. My interests just maybe because I had seen this so young, maybe not, I'm not sure, but I, you know, was quite interested in, you know, making films, making art that were in some way could make a positive change in the world. So it just naturally became something that was very much on my radar. And then, you know, about 20 years later, I meet Johnny, and we, you know, this wonderful
Conversation,
chance to do something. Yeah.
Well, you know, the setting up the story, a famed photographer expose on mercury poisoning a Japanese fishing village. I mean, Gene Smith was broke, being evicted, drinking. He seems like to be the last person you would think would have this call to action to make such a major change. And he's essentially a fish out of water, and the cultural differences. I mean, everything was stacked against this guy, wasn't it?
It absolutely was. And it's interesting because the reason that he was all of those things, not the fish out of water part, but the other ones, is because this is who he was. And he was constantly looking for opportunities to make a difference, to make a change, to capture stories that other people couldn't. And in order to do that, he was the sort of artist that needed to embed himself, needed to completely go all the way in and understand what the story was, not just, you know, snap some photos and move on. He was a different kind of animal. And it's amazing to have found him, or that he found this story so late in his life. I mean, he was ready to kill himself. He was done. He really was done. And to have met his future wife and been brought and sort of rebirthed for this final chapter is it's really remarkable. And it shows you that it's never over till it's over, really.
Absolutely. And Johnny Depp, performance of his career, I mean, just stunning. I mean, he's almost unrecognizable. I mean, I was so impressed with him. And tell me about, what kind of actor is he for a role like this? Is he a method kind of actor when he's portraying someone else, or?
It was funny. I had spoken to some other filmmakers that had worked with him. I'd read lots of things before I went, you know, I try to do my homework and understand who each of my actors are. I try to read whatever interviews and things they've given at different points in their career, and just look for what sort of crumbs there are along the way. And I realized that in the places where Johnny excelled, it was when he had the ability to really breathe life into the moments and to live. And when he was, you know, forced to stand on this mark and deliver a line this way, and it wasn't authentic, it wasn't real for him, he was still great because he's so watchable and so charming, and he's got that thing. But he was able to bring something special, something more. And it's been a lot of years since he's had that opportunity, because he's working in these massive, you know, really technical films, you know, over the last decade and a half or so. And so I built 360-degree spaces, environments, and created a production plan that allowed for Johnny and all of our other actors to basically live these experiences, to step onto set and be transported into a different time. And, nobody really broke character when they were on stage. Of course, once they left, everybody was a family and we were constantly talking about it. So it was tons of research, tons of homework, all of that. But once you stepped into the world, he was just Gene.
And when you're making a film like this as a filmmaker, is there a delicate balance between dramatic license and the facts? Because this isn't a documentary, you are making something for entertainment. So was there any kind of discussions about what really happened, what didn't happen, or?
Oh yeah, from my
line?
perspective, you can't make anything, you can't break the rules unless you know the rules, right? You can't make those choices. So we were very well considered. I spent hundreds of hours with Eileen Smith. I spent hundreds of hours with the Minamata victims and patients and other experts in various areas around it, and just trying to really have it all inside of me before making those choices. Ultimately, we are looking for essential truth, right? We're looking for the thing that's more than the facts. It's bigger than the facts. It's the real truth behind it. It's all of it wrapped into one, and also the beauty of using a photographer's eye to tell this story, because ultimately, like, Gene's not the story, right? The people on the ground fighting this fight of the story. And so this amazing artist with this transformative eye, this ability, Gene Smith, if you or I, sorry to make this presumption, but I'm gonna make it. If you or I walked through the Las Vegas airport and we were tasked with taking 10 meaningful photographs, we would probably take none. Okay, Gene Smith walked through that same airport. He would find some essential truth, some moment of hope, some moment of love, something that spoke more. And so, having that allowance to show the world interpretively, to show it poetically, to show it elegantly, and also to show it in color, because of course he was living it in color, even though he was photographing in black and white, was really it was a wonderful challenge, but quite exciting.
If there ever was a proper use of the phrase "a picture's worth 1,000 words," it's in this situation. So, and I couldn't help thinking, like I said, being Generation X, when I was a little boy in the early 70s, I mean, that was the decade of environmental awareness. I mean, we had leaded gas, air pollution, littering, the creation of the EPA. So it just seems like that whole era, when the time of the story, is when all of this world was waking up to saying, look, we're polluting our world and look what's happening. And mercury is so toxic, one of the most toxic elements that we've ever that's on Earth. So I just think that this is where it all began. And that's where this movie documents that.
Well, that's absolutely right. And, part of why we felt we had to make the film was I just found it remarkable that, 50 years later, we're fighting the same fights.
Yes.
These people actually in Minamata are fighting the same fights, and around the world, we're fighting the same fights. In a lot of places, it is mercury or heavy metals, but it's all sorts of industrial pollution incidents that are happening. We are poisoning ourselves through our environment, and it's obvious. And it's just amazing that, there is some progress, right, amongst young people, but it's going to take more. And I think people are waking up to it, but certainly not enough. It's amazing. I mean, even in these few years, I have a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old. And when my wife was pregnant with my 6-year-old, she was allowed to eat, the obstetrician said that she could eat fish, whatever it was, 4 times a week, right? Stay away from tuna, but you could eat fish 4 times a week. And then by the time our 3-year-old was coming around, just 3 years later, it was once a week. And now my sister has recently had a child, and it's once every 2 weeks. And, it's because of the mercury that's in the water.
Right. All seafood is polluted. Every fish has some sort of traces. And, being born and raised in the West, we didn't eat seafood. I didn't. I was a steak and chicken guy, right? So even when I thought to try to eat fish as a health thing, I just can't do it, so it's kind of a good thing, but it's just, it's sad. But hopefully, this film will bring awareness to it. And congratulations on an incredible film and getting a wonderful performance out of Johnny Depp, Andrew. And thank you so much for joining me today. Let's do it again soon.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It'd be my pleasure.